Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to completely disassemble the SSR4. I have the plastic version here, but it goes exactly the same for the metal version. Okay, first we need to take off the magazine, also then the stock to remove the battery. Always make sure the battery is disconnected when you start disassembly. And then what we need to do is separate the upper receiver from the lower receiver. For this we need a 2.5mm Allen key. And take off the screw from the pin. And then using the tool in the box or something else, you can bang against the pin just to get it out a little bit. And then you can pull it out from the other side. From here, we can just separate the bodies, but be aware it can catch on the charging handle. So you need to then push it back together, charge the charging handle a little bit, and then it will break apart pretty easily. Now on this side, also this can catch into the magazine release, so we just need to close that with our hands, push against this charging handle, and then take it apart. We're going to start to disassemble the hop-up assembly first, and then we're going to move on to the gearbox. Okay, the barrel and the hop-up assembly just come out like this. Then we can put aside the upper receiver, and then the hop-up chamber we can take apart really easily for cleaning or for changing the hop-up rubber or any other maintenance item. Good, then we need to push out this pin, little pin over here, to completely disassemble the hop-up chamber. Just get a bit that's small enough for this pin, and you can just push it in. Then this comes out. Then there is a clip right here that you need to remove. It's a C-clip, so just pull on it and it will come out pretty easily. Then the wheel can come out as well as the hop-up arm together with the nub. And now what we need to do is remove the C-clip from the hop-up chamber. For this we need something sharp, like a flathead screwdriver. Just put a bit of pressure underneath and press. Once that is done, you can just rotate it out the way and it comes off. Then, just as easily as this, you can pull it apart. From here, you can change the hop-up rubber, just pull it apart, and then you can slide it back in. Now we can move on to the gearbox. In order to start this disassembly of the gearbox, make sure you take the fake bolt catch release out so that you don't lose it accidentally. Then the next step is to take off the buffer tube, and this is also goes for when you want to change the spring. For this, please use the included Allen key in the box. It is a longer Allen key than you would find on the market normally. There is a screw inside the buffer tube. It's exactly in the middle. Just put the Allen key in and then start rotating it. You can pinch the cable so that it don't get in the way. A few times is enough, then you can take this off. While still pinching the cables, I like to then just turn it around and make sure the screw is out. And then also there's a holder here, which if it doesn't come out by its own, you can push it a little bit with your finger and then it will come out. It's easier to do it this way because otherwise it's going to get stuck against the cables. Then we take off the buffer tube, we take off the QD plate, and then we're left with the lower receiver and the gearbox. Next, we take off the motor. For this is really easy, you don't even need any tools. You just pry this open. And then if this is stuck, you can use whatever just to pry it out or turn the gun around and smack it a few times and it should come, because the motor is spring loaded, this should come out. Now we can take a good look at how the motor is positioned inside the pistol grip. The red wire is routed to the back side of the pistol grip and the black wire is routed through the front of the pistol grip. With a bit of prying motion, we need to take off both cables, like so. Just get in underneath the cable and the post of the motor. Once this is off, then the motor can come out and we can put it aside. Next, inside the pistol grip, you will see you have 4 screws that connect the pistol grip to the gearbox itself and the receiver. For this, we need a Phillips head screwdriver with a little bit of an extension so that we can properly get in there and unscrew all the screws. If they come out like this, great. If not, if they remain in the pistol grip, don't worry about it. You're going to take this off in a second, so it doesn't matter. Even if it falls into the gearbox itself, it's not a problem. We can take it off afterwards. Once all of them are out, make sure to put it aside next to the motor and next to the other parts, and make sure all these cables are straight so that when you pull off the pistol grip, it's not gonna catch in anything. And that's it. If at this time you lost the screw inside the gearbox, just turn it around, shake it a little bit, and the screw should fall off. Next, we take off the magazine catch, which is also a Phillips head screwdriver, but a smaller one. From this side, just unscrew until it comes out. Then the button, the spring, and the screw can go on the right side of the gun, and then the magazine release can go on the left side of the gun, so that you know which part is which. From here, the only two things need to still happen to take off the gearbox from the receiver, and that is the main receiver pin and the main gearbox pin. The receiver pin we can push out from this side, just get something to bang against, and also put something underneath the gearbox so you can create a little space for the pin to come out, and just get it a few smacks. Once it passes one side, then it's going to be easy to take from the other side. As you can see, it has some serrations on the right side to keep it in. Then on the other side, like from the right side coming in to the left side, you need to press out the gearbox pin. And for this, we need some sort of a smaller head on it so that we can give it a good smack. That's it. Once is enough, and then from this side, it can come off freely. Now we can take off the gearbox altogether. That's it. Now you're left with the empty receiver. Now, in order to completely disassemble the gearbox, we need to do two things. To detension the spring and then take the spring off. To detension the spring, before you take it off, there's a little hole over here where you can see the anti-reverse latch. With something thin, just go inside and press towards U. That the anti-reverse latch releases, and you hear the little gears unspool a little bit. Now this makes sure the gearbox is completely not tensioned at all. So the nozzle is not tensioned, the spring is not tensioned, so once you will open it up, nothing will fly off. Now we can take off the spring really easily. You can press it with your finger at this stage and rotate 90 degrees, and the spring will come out together with the spring guide. Then from the right side of the gearbox, we have 9 screws that we need to take off. For this, I will use an electric drill so that we don't grow old here unscrewing all of them. All right. You can take off all the screws so that it's a little easier than to pry off the gearbox shell. And you can group them like this, like 4 small screws on the top, 5 bigger screws from the middle half of the gearbox down. Now what we need to do is just press on the cylinder so that it doesn't come up together with the shell, and pry from either side at the same time with a bit of prying motion, like this, and then the shell can come off easily. From here, the next step is to detension the tappet plate, because that's the only thing that's still attached to a spring at this stage. And for this, just go in under it, unpry it until it goes out, and now it's completely loose. Now we can take off the cylinder head, cylinder group altogether. From here, next is the trigger. Be aware also the trigger has a spring underneath it, and also a shim. This shim is used to reduce the wobble in this gearbox perfectly, because not all gearboxes are the same. They have various space in there, so that's why we use a shim to reduce the wobble of the trigger as much as possible without binding the trigger itself. Now we can put the trigger on the side. Then we can take off the gears itself, and I like to put all the shims that are on the left side of the right side of the gearbox onto the gears themselves, and then put that gear on one side. This is to ensure we don't mix and match the shims, which will be really bad, because then you can over shim something or under shim one of the gears, which will could cause issues. So make sure you get the sector gear shim, or shims in this case, put them on top of it, then take the gear completely off and do the same with the bottom ones. So if there are some shims on the bottom, take them, put them on the axle, and then put the gear aside and try not to touch it or not to mess with it. And we do the same for the rest, for the bevel gear. And there is no shim here, so I can freely do that. Then this is the anti-reverse latch, which comes after that. And finally, the spur gear. The gun should be greased, so it's easy to just put your finger on top of it and the shim should come pretty easily, should stick to your finger pretty much. Alright, from here further we need to take off the safety latch, which is another Phillips head screw. Take it off, then with a prying motion, go underneath the latch and the gearbox shell and just pry up until this comes off together with the spring. And on the other side, the latch from the other side of the safety latch. From here, I recommend to put it back together like this so that you don't forget the orientation of it. And then set it on one side. Now finally, the only thing left to do is to take off the ETU from the gun, which also requires a Phillips head screw. We unscrew this, and be aware there is a transparent shim in between the screw and the electronics. So make sure not to lose this. This is to ensure no short circuits are possible. Then finally, we unroot the cables and take off the ETU from the gearbox. Together with the screw, we put it on one side to not forget it. For the cylinder group, it's really easy to take apart completely. Everything just falls apart. The tappet plate itself, then the nozzle, cylinder head, cylinder and piston with the piston head.